Welcome to the Beyond Pain podcast with your host, Joe Gambino and Joe LaVacca. Join the two Joes, two physical therapists, as they discuss how to navigate the uncertainties of pain so you can move beyond it and get back to the activities you love most. This podcast is for Joe, and their guests to share their clinical thoughts and ideas based on their collective clinical experiences. Can this information be for you? Maybe, but we cannot know for sure. Therefore, it is always worth talking to your healthcare provider to make the best decisions in your care before you implement anything on this podcast. And please use common sense.
Welcome back into the Beyond Pain podcast. I am one of your hosts, Joe Gambino. I'm here with our other host, Joe LaVacca, and we have a guest today. He's the first, I guess I'll call him local guest, the first one here in the Raleigh area. Matt Gulliver, the owner of Oak and Iron Fitness, a community builder here in the Triangle area. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. Take a couple of moments to tell our listeners a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and you have to answer one very, very important question as you do it. How do you take your coffee?
I drank my coffee black. I'm a
It's a
we'll
theme
get
on
into
this
that
show.
later, but yeah, I'm pretty much a no sugar at all person, actually. So yeah, I own two boutique gyms here in the Triangle. We do group fitness, personal training, semi-private, and nutrition coaching. And we try to be a lot more than just a gym. So we really are ingrained and big about being a part of our community, whether that be through volunteer work, social activities, and really kind of helping spread the word of wellness in the area.
I love that.
For those people who don't live in North Carolina, I've heard the Triangle area twice now, and I don't know what that is. What is the Triangle area?
So the Triangle is actually referring to the Research Triangle area, which is talking about Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill.
Okay. All right, fine. There we go. Now we're back. Now I'm on the map with you guys. I can coordinate. I got my latitude, longitude. Very good. All right, cool. Thanks for clearing that up. Now
Yeah,
with the black coffee, light roast, dark roast, I think we got to dive deeper with the black coffee questions, you know?
I'm a pretty much, I do like caffeine. So I do like medium just because it has a little bit more caffeine in there. But I'm easygoing. I don't, people will tell like, oh, that coffee was so good or that coffee was so bad. I'm like, oh, it's coffee. I just kind of drink it every day and I've gotten so used to it. And my wife, on the other hand, I mean, it's probably got to be this much cream in every cup, enough where she puts the cream in and has to put it back in the microwave.
Wow.
So it's more like a latte cappuccino mix
Yep.
or something like that.
Yeah. Don't get
Nice.
me wrong.
What
I've had that in my past. I think it tastes delicious, but just the risk reward's not there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, so what about, all right, we're going to talk about this now just because we're now down this rabbit hole. What about bulletproof coffee for those listening?
They used to have a place in downtown Raleigh called, they still have it, called Raleigh Raw, and they would do their version of that coffee. I've had it, and I have no problem with it. Is it David Asprey who kind of popularized that?
Yeah, I think so.
So, I mean, I think it tastes great, but I'm
Yeah,
so
it just depends
simple.
on your goals, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
but
don't-
I'm just it's all about simplicity. I just need to make the cup and be able to go.
Right. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
never knew if I wanted my one cup of coffee to be worth 500 calories every morning
Right.
as I get going. So, I
Yeah.
kind of do like to have a little bit of breakfast with it and not drink all my calories before I get going. That's cool, man. So yeah, well, we really appreciate you coming on. One of the follow-up questions that we always have to the coffee question is, has there been a time, and it seems like almost listening to you and listening to your Instagram messaging and stuff like that, that there had to be a moment in time for you, maybe in your life, where you dealt with injury, maybe had some challenges, both as a man or in a community. What was really the big impetus for you to spark this message at the gym that you have at Oak and Iron? And how has it made you a better person or a better professional?
Yeah, it's accumulation of life, right? I think the universe steers us in different directions based off of those experiences that happen to us. Question was kind of a little bit all over, but talking about my injury first kind of thing.
Yeah, you can do injury, or there's been a big mix on like personal or psychological sort of like struggles and things that people come with in the podcast. So I never want to just level it down to like, oh yeah, my knee hurt and I went to a doctor and then that's what I did. But a lot of people like myself found solace with depression or going through a divorce. And that's what really kind of sparked my consistency back into fitness.
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head when it comes to mental health. At this age, I'm 44 now, and I honestly, obviously, we all care about body composition and looking and feeling a certain way, but I truly work out on a regular basis, mainly for my mental health. I think I'm a better dad and a better husband. I'm more present. My energy levels are much higher, but I do have kind of a background that kind of steered me in this direction. I was an athlete my entire life. Going into college, I wrestled at NC State. I did deal with major injuries throughout my life, starting as a young kid. I mean, my first big injury was I broke my leg when I was 7. The story is better than when it actually happened, but a tombstone fell on my leg.
Okay.
So a 500-pound tombstone fell and broke the bottom of my leg. And me and my brother were playing in a tombstone site, the cell, not an actual like graveyard. And I was on top of it. We were playing tag. I jumped off of it. It came down, fell right across my shin bone. So throughout my life, I started, but I still continued to play sports my whole life. I ended up, I broke my ankle in high school my senior year. I tore my LCL in college wrestling. I've ruptured my Achilles as a young adult. So I ended up having all these injuries that I kind of like bounced back from, which did kind of talk about what steered into my philosophy and how I train. But those injuries, honestly, in a good way, they help slow me down in a good way. And they help me put an emphasis on, I worked with physical therapists, and it has a big philosophy that leans into not only our emphasis on unilateral training, but the quality of movement. We're really big about not ego lifting in our gym and about making sure that people understand how to do things properly. And so we kind of pride ourselves as coaches as being the ones that like, we are that safety guard, and we have full confidence stepping in immediately and telling anybody, guy, girl, whatever, like, hey, that weight's too much. You're not doing this correctly. You're going to get hurt. And as long as we can explain the why and help bridge that gap. So that's kind of really helped shape our philosophy. But yeah, so from going into sports my entire life, I actually, as a young man, like a lot of us, had no clue what I wanted to do in life. And so I actually was on the fringe of being either Marine or going into the workforce. And I had taken the fitness test. Actually, my best friend is still actually 21 plus years in the Marine Corps now. Me and him were supposed to go in together. And my grandfather actually kind of stopped me because it was close to around 9/11. We were all feeling super patriotic, and I wanted to, it felt like the right thing to do as a young man. But my grandfather's like, do you want to be a Marine or do you not know what you want to do? And I was like, probably that. So
Yeah.
he was like, well, why don't you go get a job for a year? And then after that, if you still want to be a Marine, we can circle back and come to this way. So it took me a long route to actually get back into fitness after playing sports. And my degree was in physical education, health, nutrition, but I ended up going into the sales world for 10 plus years. So I did work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I did outside sales, and then I did inside sales for many years. And I was very successful. I had all the things that I think on paper that a lot of us want. I had the house, the car, the money, but I just was super unfulfilled. Something was missing. And I still worked on myself, but I kind of kept finding that my cup was being filled every time I got to the gym. And so I got certified and kind of started teaching classes, group classes, early mornings and evenings before and after my 9 to 5. And I kept sitting with this and I was like, man, I'm so much happier in the gym. Can I make this a living? And so that's what about 10 years ago, a little over, I decided just to hang it up, quit, and never look back.
That's awesome. That kind of like is how I got into fitness and all that stuff too. Is like I studied at one point finance, and I went computer science, and I just found like my buddy dragged me into the gym, and I found myself studying more about what I'm going to do my workouts, and just like so much more focus on that stuff than anything else I've ever done. I was like, screw it, like this got to be my direction. So there's a parallel there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you
When
guys
you
read the
guys,
book? What is it? 5 Types of Wealth by
no, I
I
don't
Celine
think
have
I've
Williams.
not.
actually read that one.
Mm-mm.
No.
It's a really good book, and it puts it in perspective where it basically kind of talks about wealth and the ways we view wealth. And there's monetary wealth, but then we can look at our social wealth, our mental wealth, our physical wealth, and you're going to have to make some compromises along the way. So if you have a lot of money, but you're not taking care of your body, your social circle small, your mental health damaged, like, are you really wealthy? And so if I told you to give me some of that money back, but I'll make you healthier, I'll make you more fulfilled, more happy. So it talks about how do we find that balance in our life on what real wealth is.
That's really interesting. And I love book recommendations. So that's already going to go on my Amazon wish list as soon as we get off the podcast today, Matt. So thank you for that. And I think it really backs up into the question that I had on my mind because you're mentioning these pillars of health, these 5, different areas of wellness or wealth that you can look at in your life. When you guys are onboarding a new client at the gym, how do you go about determining like what pillar or what area that this person should really focus on? Or do you kind of just take, hey, join the gym, get going, and then we can figure out all this other stuff as you get consistent?
It depends. The onboarding process is different for a private client and for a group client. So with a private client, it's a little more in depth when working one-on-one. We want to understand their why. I'm sure you guys have read Start With My Why or Simon Sinek's book. And so we really try to peel back those layers and understand why they're coming into this gym, and not just like, I want to lose weight. I need to understand why this is important to you.
Mhm.
Is it a confidence issue? Is it you don't feel attractive? Are you getting passed up on promotions? I want to get to that emotional connection on what made you step into this gym, so that we can use that when we talk about motivating and inspiring you to keep coming, is helping them remember what their why was. When it does come to a group member, I mean, they can technically buy a class or a trial online and just kind of pop in a class. Now, we do our best to try to filter that by giving them a call and welcoming them before they walk in the door, giving them expectations on what to expect, because we're not the best place to pop in for a workout. That's not what we do. We talk about all the time, we're not workouts, we're a program. So now, it doesn't mean you can't pop in the middle of a program, and we're going to kind of paint that picture for what the expectations are. But we constantly are kind of coaching and having to teach people on, hey, didn't we do this workout last week or something very similar? It's like, yes, you're exactly right. We just made a couple switches to your reps, to your weights. But yes, this is the workout you did last week, where a lot of people are seeking that variety. So we want to kind of paint that expectation and picture early.
Nice. And kind of just building off of that. Yeah, you do one-on-ones, the semi-privates, the large group coaching. How, if someone comes in the door, well, maybe we'll start like, what are the advantages and disadvantages of each? And if someone came in and you felt like they weren't a fit for one for whatever reason, how do you have that conversation to steer them to the option that works best for their entry point?
Yeah. Well, even though I think you and I both know what I try to steer away from saying what disadvantages are and try to think about glass half full. And I think they have different advantages, or they have different things that might be right for that particular person, and we're going to steer them in that right direction. The best analogy I can give you is we both can get to the same place. You can get on a nice sports car and it's very custom, and we can do all the custom things you want to it, and it's very specific and tailored to your needs. Or we can all hop on a party bus and ride together, and we can have fun. And so it's obviously a little bit different level of coaching they're going to get. But when it comes to one-on-one, do they need more specific accountability? Do they have an injury history? Very specific goals that are kind of outside of the broad scope of things, but they're training for an event? Or is it just a beginner, like you said, who needs confidence? So we try to pride ourselves, honestly, on the inclusivity of our classes, and say anyone could come in. And if I walked out right now and put a camera on my class, you would see it. Is we have a pretty diverse membership base, and you might see we have several ex-college athletes who like love our format because it's very similar to a college strength and conditioning program and warm up, but it's built with regressions and progressions for anybody. So you might see a 60-year-old grandmother in the same exact class. Now, we do our best to put people in partnerships and in groups that make sense, but the workout, it's not a cookie cutter workout. But if we're doing barbell squats and you're not ready for barbell squats, we'll have you on a goblet squat or a body weight squat, or we're going to make sure there's something available for you. But we train movement patterns, not necessarily forcing you to get under a barbell or do something that you're not comfortable with. But we're also super comfortable if it's a safety concern. And we had two examples this week, honestly, of new members who came in. They're super ambitious. They want the change, but some of the basic lingo that you and I would think is just everyday second nature, they don't understand. So I was like, they probably were better suited to at least start with some personal training, just to kind of understand some of these. Like, let's just break down what a hinge is, what a clean is, so that you can start understanding what we're talking about. But we don't discourage that person from coming into class. But we also are clear that if you're in a class, we do cap our classes at 16, and you're getting coached. And I think anything over that 16, you're moving into more crowd control than you are coaching. But it obviously is a different price point. And so we want to find something at the end of the day is what is sustainable for this person long term. Because if price point is going to be an issue, not everyone can. I mean, it's a pretty pricey thing to work one-on-one with a coach 3, 4, 5 times a week. So we got to find something that most people can afford. And as you guys all know, the economy is not the easiest thing to go drop $1,000, $2,000 a month on working with a personal coach.
Yeah, I think the value of everything comes down to decision making too with people. And I just had this conversation with my colleague last night about finances and about, trying to work with people and find the best path or the rehab path that we offer forward. But I kept reminding him, I said, remember, people aren't coming into the gym and they're buying the gym. There's lots of places with kettlebells and dumbbells and sleds and turf. We probably don't even have the best facility in New York City, but people will buy the person in front of them because we can show them how much they care. And it seems like that's what you guys really do well, is trying to tailor this to each individual person, not make it a competition of who can lift the most, but reminding people of why they're there. Why did they initially sign up? And that sounds awesome, man. So I think that that's a message that more gyms and clinics really need to grab hold to, because I think so much times in New York City, I see people putting too much money into the show, right? I need the fanciest equipment. I need the nicest this, the nicest that. And then you go in there and you have coaches that can't look people in the eye. There's one coach for 50 people, because now overhead in New York City, you have to cram people in. And we had Zach Long on not too long ago. He's another PT and rehab guy, works with CrossFit athletes. And he was talking about how the injury rates go up really significantly higher when you don't have a good coach and person class ratio. So with that being the case, and you guys are making all these sort of modification specifications, you're trying to guide people as best they can, shit happens, right? Like the more you're in the gym, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road, you're likely to have that shoulder start hurting, the back spasm, maybe the knees start to swell. So what happens in the gym and with your guys' coaching approach when one of your clients sustains an injury or starts to have pain?
Yeah, so we're very clear on what we are as a professional, and we don't diagnose injuries. And we make sure first that people understand what the difference is between discomfort and pain. Because a lot of times someone new to movement, they're going to say something very basic like a squat. It might be painful. It's just because they haven't gone to that range of motion for a while and they're accessing something that they haven't done in years. And so it's very uncomfortable. But we're very clear on making sure people understand what pain is. And if we need to outsource that and it is pain, then we're going to get into a professional. So we do have several physical therapists that actually are members of our gym that do help out. One of our coaches is she just graduated from Duke with her physical therapy. And so we have kind of some in-house help, and we'll steer people in that direction, but we also will outsource it in the event that we need it. But we do believe that movement is part of the solution often, and it's not just rest or take time off. And so we're going to try to work around that. So specifically, if you're having, hey, when I'm squatting, my knee is really hurting. Okay, we're going to move squats from your workout if this is an actual pain, but we're still part of this workout that you can get through today. And here's some modifications that we can do. And I think more people need guidance on what movements they should be doing and not just avoidance of movement during pain.
So when you're talking about that discomfort and pain, and this is something Joe and I have talked about a lot, where is your cutoff with clients with discomfort versus pain? Because I still sort of struggle with that conversation myself. So I'm always eager to know how other coaches and professionals are kind of like navigating that tipping point of what's okay or acceptable, and then what maybe this requires a little bit more higher referral. And for half of your clients, I'm sure they'd go see your Duke colleague, but we just lost half of the listeners who are Tar Heels fans. So we'll try to get the back.
In the triangle. So I'm going back there. I'm actually a big NC State guy, but we do have a lot of Duke ties in our gym. So we actually are part of Duke's NBA program, and we work with Duke's football team. So I've come to be a little bit of a Duke guy. But yeah, we had a physical therapist. So we do continuing education every single week in both of our gyms. So we have a all on deck staff meeting in Cary once a week and one in Raleigh. And I would say every 4 to 6 weeks, we bring a physical therapist in as well, and to break down whatever movements we're going to be doing over that particular cycle. And then we like to see what their lens is on that movement and what our lens is on that movement. And we had one come in recently, and he used the similar scale that a doctor uses with like the faces, and it's like red all the way up to a green. And we kind of talk about if it's surpassing that like 3 or 4, like we need to go see somebody. If it's just like hey, like yesterday we did some snow angels and some bicep curls. And today my traps are sore. It's uncomfortable, but I'm not in pain, but it's not something I'm used to feeling. And so if you put your finger back here, I'm like, okay, that's a little sensitive. And so it's a difference of just understanding. And now that's going to vary too, because you're going to see an ex-athlete who's going to have a higher threshold for what they call pain. And then you're going to see somebody new who, again, has come in for the first time in years. And we're going to try to make sure that we don't put them in pain. And when I say pain, that could be just going through a full workout that wasn't scaled properly and they had too much of a load, and they're going to be in a lot of pain that next day if they went from 0 to 100. So yeah, we have those conversations, and I like to make sure we kind of talk about that 10 scale. And is this coming over a 4, 3, 4? Or is it getting up to that 5? You might need to pause and go see somebody.
I like that cutoff. I think that with a lot of the soft tissue things that I've read, the 3s and 4s seem to be acceptable, right? And I even kind of have started using more of an umbrella term of tolerable. Is this tolerable for you? Okay, it's yellow lighted, and then let's kind of keep moving forward. However, I also think that that emotional concept of, well, I've had this before, I'm a little worried about it, I'm fearful of it, then I always kind of think, well, is it changing their behavior? Right. And you can always kind of probably see people move a little bit tentatively, especially with your class size that you have. Who's moving freely, who's moving confidently, who's maybe, taking that tempo and holding their breath or grimacing a little bit too much. And then I always sort of approach those people in the gym, even where I am and say, like, hey, what's going on? Can I help you with anything? Because I always think that the tolerability is like you, me, and Joe at the gym. We don't need to run up to each other and ask if we're okay, right? That would be tolerable pain, but I can see maybe you're working, you're a little huffy puffy. The next sort of phase I always go to people is like what you said. Hey, we did bicep curls and angels. Like, where would you expect to feel soreness? Well, maybe here and here, not pointing to like one area in the joint. So I always thought like that 24-hour follow up was always a good determining factor of just expectations because people are
Yeah.
new to this. And when you get properly coached and guided, you match intensity levels, you match effort, and then you realize, oh shit, this is what I'm supposed to feel like. This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's a big difference than where I came from in my old PT clinic where they only had 5-pound weights and they were telling me to squat 3 sets of 10 and I could have done 50 reps. So yeah, I think that tolerance and expectation levels also like been really helpful for me to go along with the numbers because numbers are funny things, man. They're like my clients in New York City, they're always like in 7. And I'm like, wow, seven's pretty high. They're like, no, I didn't mean 7, but like it can be a 7, but I don't know, a 2. And I'm like, okay, so then we can keep moving forward. But I'm really worried about it, and then like I just felt we're playing that sliding number game so often. So I just usually went back to tolerance and stuff like that. So that's
Yeah, I
really
like
good.
that.
So yeah. So now when you're kind of then also then thinking about that rehab approach, right? You have sounds like a really eclectic team. So you have people to kind of help steer. I think again, like this theme of community keeps coming up, right? Like you mentioned that you wanted to be part of the community in the Triangle area or Cary and Raleigh, especially. You're bringing on these services or these coaches who have different areas of expertise. So, what impact does this have on your members? Because I'm sure it means that they love coming and they stay for a long period of time. I imagine that dropout rate's a lot less when people feel comfortable where they are.
I mean, honestly, that's just, I think as you get older and you start, especially when you have kids, I feel like your social circle shrinks so much that it ends up being either your kids' friends, your family. And so I think a lot of us still are missing that tribe element that we like being around people. And I truly just believe not only putting people in an environment where we're all striving in the same direction, where these good behaviors and habits become the norm, it helps drive people forward. And so kind of one of our mission statements is building a stronger community, one person at a time. And we talk about that from a personalized approach, but we also are constantly very active in our community. So we try to at least once a quarter do some sort of volunteer work. Right now, we're doing a big summer impact series where we've taken 3 local nonprofits that we're raising money for, and we kind of raise awareness for them. We do free workouts. We give all the money we make directly to them. And I think people get behind that because, again, at the end of the day, if you can create this environment that everyone feels a part of, even though we do feel very confident about our coaches and the community that we are as a team, you don't want to quit necessarily me. You don't want to quit your best friends that you've been working out with for years and who've been pushing you, helping hold you accountable. So we try to build connection as much as possible. Like even tonight, we're all doing a Carolina Hurricanes playoff watch party tonight. So one of our local members owns a pizza spot. We'll go across the street. We'll all watch the game tonight. And I think just getting us around each other more and more, and it helps create those connections outside of the gym walls where we understand the family dynamic, what we do as a professional outside of the gym, what our interests are outside of working out. And then that kind of helps grow our community.
Yeah, I love that, and go Kings. We'll start there. It's been fun to watch them a little bit, and I would say I'm a Ranger fan first, but moving here, my first hockey game was a Kings game, so there's a little special place in my heart for them. So it
Nice.
was fun watching them go. But talk a little bit more about what you've seen community wise, because you also have like a athletic background. I'm assuming strength and conditioning at a college level. Say, do you find any parallels between like creating a community in your gym and what maybe you've seen at like the strength and conditioning world, like that like gym team environment, and how do you feel like that may help like like a team environment, maybe like motivation and like helping your specific
I,
community inside your gym reach their goals?
we talk about this. I had a prospect come through yesterday, and when I was describing it, it was him and his girlfriend wanted to come work out with us, and he was like, loved everything I had to say, and he was like, I just don't know if my girlfriend's gonna like this, the way you kind of position some of it, like testing, because we do pre-test and benchmark
Mm.
days, and we have a lot of metrics in place, and really we try to reposition it. It's always going to be you versus you, and we're always looking for personal growth. However, put yourself around people who are stronger, faster, more mobile than you. And, it's kind of like the rabbit and the greyhounds. I was like, there's when you surround yourself with other people who have these strong habits, whether it be their consistency, their strength, it does drive you. I love the same thing. I can see someone who might not be as strong as me, but the effort I see them doing on one of our particular tests inspires me. Like, man, they really were gutting out that chin up hold.
Mhm.
I need to give it my all too, because they were getting to a point where they were shaking. I don't even take it that far. Let me work on it. And so I think it just inspires others to be surrounded by people, again, who are on this common mission to self betterment.
Yeah. No, I love that. In Astoria, Queens, where my buddy had a gym, and I trained there, and I worked out there, and they did the same thing. They have a board, and they have like the leaders of certain lifts, and they would always have like a monthly exercise challenge, and one of them was like trap bar, like carry your body weight back and forth for as long as you can before you drop it, and how much time it was. And I don't know why I was actually really, for whatever reason, really good at it, and like it sparked like everybody, like all the coaches, because I don't know what I like to talk shit, and anytime I'm ahead in something, it really pushes everyone to do a little bit better. But even like clients, like everybody in there was like, like every time, every month, whatever their challenge is, it always pushes people to like try to outbeat somebody and raise the bar for each person, which is really cool to see. So I really love having that component of
And,
things.
and we
And
do a
that's
good
like some of the
job.
stuff I miss about being in gyms.
And we do a good job. Like I think the leaderboard is important, but I
Mm,
think we don't only highlight the leaderboard. We talk about
sure.
most improved. We give a rookie of the cycle, like someone new who completed their first cycle. Maybe somebody went up in all 4 metrics we were tracking that particular cycle, even though they didn't make a leaderboard. So we want to highlight all these different things. So we spend a lot of time looking through that data to try to highlight as many people and not just say like, hey, let's look at the 5 strongest guys and 5 strongest girls in our gym. And we'd also were pretty conscious of what sort of tests we're doing throughout the course of the year, that it highlights the various different types of athletes, whether that be endurance, power. So you might have someone who's going to be the strongest and most powerful, but then it comes to the endurance and the other ones, and
Mhm.
they're chasing different metrics because those are the ones they struggle at.
Yeah. I saw on your Instagram, you guys had the PR bell.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that and how that plays into things, because I was just that was an interesting one.
So that ended up being something really funny. My stepdad is a surveyor by trade, but he loves tinkering. He's a blacksmith. He actually has a blacksmith show this weekend. He just likes to build stuff. And so it came up with, everyone was like, we should do a PR bell. And so in my mind, I had this vision of a little bell that was going to be hanging on the wall, and that the members could ring. And so we went out to dinner with him one day, and he's like, come out to my truck. And he rolls out this bell, and this bell it was built in the 1800s, and he found it at an old farm. He like repainted it. He put it on this cart, and it's this huge thing that's honestly pretty difficult to put in our gym, but the members absolutely love it. And so it's just so fun and unique, and it's like specialized and for us. But I don't know. When people hit that bell and people are cheering for him, it's like really just kind of turned into
Mhm.
a thing here, and it's kind of taken a life of its own. And I think people love when the PR bell comes out. It only comes out once every like 15 weeks. So only during, so what we do is week 1, we call it benchmark week. And we try to make sure that we're kind of steering people not to red line on this. Like we're just trying to create a baseline. And again, it's always going to be about, can I do this movement with perfect quality? I don't care if you gutted out 5 ugly reps. That's not what I'm looking for. They need to be checking a box as perfect. So we'll create a baseline. We'll program for 9 weeks focusing on those movements. And then we have what we call PR week. And that's when the bell comes out. And then, so that's in the week 11 of the cycle. And then followed by every cycle, we do a 3-week deload maintenance program. And then we'll go into a new benchmark day.
Nice.
I think that's the biggest opportunity in the physical therapy space, if I'm honest, is
Mm.
this lack of community support and building people up. Everyone goes to the gym and they know each other, they're high-fiving, they're going to watch parties. ain't nobody going to watch parties with the guy in back pain at the 4 p.m. and the 3 p.m. meniscal tear and the 2 p.m. shoulder impingement. Like, there ain't no watch party for those people. And I've been pushing the members in my clinic who I train virtually and in person to start interacting a little bit more and let me be a facilitator for that. Now, I haven't gotten a lot of nibbles there because it's just such an out of the box ask. I'm asking people to do their exercise. I'm asking people to do their aerobic training. I'm asking people to check in with me and send videos. But then I know a lot of people are struggling. And I've been offering more and more, hey, Laura, can I connect you with this person? Hey, John, can I connect you with this person? And everyone right now, I just started really pushing it a little bit more because of, hearing your message and a few other guests that we've had on lately. I'm like, this is the biggest thing I'm not doing. I'm not facilitating enough community. So hearing you is kind of really inspiring me again to sort of do that. And I'm wondering if there is anything sort of like in that sense of community support for those, maybe people who are seeing your PTs going through pain. I know you have like a leaderboard, but do you guys ever try to say, hey, Mary hurt her knee with squatting last week. You should maybe talk to Mary. She saw, and I forget your colleague's name. I don't know if you mentioned her name that went to Duke, but she saw so-and-so, loved it, picked up a couple things, but maybe you guys can talk. Is there anything like a pathway like that for you guys yet?
A little bit. So we actually just got done doing a mobility series where we partnered with a chiropractor, actually. And admittedly, I've not been a big chiropractor believer my whole life. But this guy, Corey specifically, he's an ex-college basketball player, has a CSCS. He trained for many years, and he's really into movement quality, and they're into breathing patterns. And so we went in and did some mobility stuff. And again, I'm a firm believer that 90% of your mobility is unlocked from just training properly. But there are very specific things you can work on when it comes to if you're constantly feeling something from shoulder pressing that you need to kind of warm up properly or add to your kind of toolbox before working out. And so we broke down and did a 5-week, it was once a week per month. And we did a shoulder day, knee and ankle. So we broke down everything, the low back, and then we did a mobility flow. And anyway, so that kind of gravitated all these people that you could see that actually the ones that care about that type of stuff. And then we'd have a once a month event at the gym on a Saturday. We'd come in and have coffee, a drink, and then we would go through a 1-hour clinic together, and people would stick around and kind of socialize afterwards. So that's one way of doing it. But yeah, there's definitely times where we've linked people up who might be having similar things that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it does happen. Like you said, we're not immune to getting people hurt, but it's very uncommon. And I think that's part of the way we program is we're trying to avoid those injuries at all costs. And what's the risk reward of movements, right? So going back to would be far from a CrossFit, and I'll kind of have my reasons why, but we're not going to have any member in here doing a barbell clean unless they're an athlete working one-on-one with a coach. But you're never going to see that in a class format with us. We're not going to have barbell snatches. We're not going to, everything we're doing is looking something that, how can I keep you healthy? Because generally what we have is general population. Maybe they were ex-athletes, but we're 35 to 55-year-old parents and young professionals. My job is to keep you coming and make sure you're training 20 to 30 years from now, not doing some 6-week sprint to get ready for an event or something.
Yeah. I'm curious because I mean you have your CrossFits and your you can go to Peloton. You have like these group class settings that obviously they have a community feel to it, but I don't feel like in the personal training, strength and conditioning space is like a very common thing to see. What was there anything in like your sales background that led you to be like very community driven? Was it something in your past like what had kind of made you feel like community and having this entire environment that's like a very like somewhat individualized even at like a larger scale and then having like everyone be together, what has really kind of like driven you to find this model be like what you wanted to do and have success with it?
I guess chance in some ways. So when I originally got back into fitness, when I was working my 9 to 5, I was recruited by this one gym to teach group fitness classes. And we're talking, this is maybe 10, 12 years ago. And now I would kind of, I'd be mortified for people to see me coaching 12 years ago. It was a high intensity gym. The whole gym was just treadmills and TRXs and light dumbbells. And we just absolutely crushed people in not a good way or not a way I'm proud about. I just didn't have the education back then. And we would just get very sweaty, but the energy was incredible. I mean, people were, I mean, honestly, no different. I think CrossFit's done a really good job of that. They almost kind of love having misery together. And I think that's kind of what we had created is people loved working so hard together. And I think just being a part of that energy kind of brought back some of that growing up and playing team sports my entire life and having people root you on, challenge you, kind of what you were saying, where there's just even sometimes, knowing the context of who I can talk to, but there's people in here that I can't shit talk and we can play around with and talk about leaderboards. And there's other people that I would never try to highlight my score versus them. And I would just talk about how proud I am. And so you kind of know which angle and who to choose that with, but there's definitely some healthy competition that happens. So I think I just, so one, I got injected into this big group fitness class. I don't know that I ever would have done that. Before that, I just preferred going to a box gym, working out by myself, but that's easy because I knew what to do. But the average person, I don't think does that. And so I think I just like the idea of how can I impact the most people at a time. And I think I just love no different than going to a concert or a sporting event. I just love the energy of a crowd.
Nice. Yeah, I was curious.
Do the girls, do the kids love the gym?
My kids, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's the perfect babysitting playground. So basically, anytime it's too hot or too cold out on the weekends, I'll just come in here. I set up a big obstacle course with the soft mats. We'll make a little thing to run in, but they love it. My son actually did he was tracked out. He's in year-round school. He's about to be in first grade, but he's in kindergarten. And he was tracked out and he begged to have a day at work with me. So we came in the whole day at work. He loves to I've done a lot of big community events. He loves to get up on stage and wear his oak and iron and coach with me. And then funny enough, there was two weekends ago, my daughter who's 3 and her and I were going to have an afternoon together. And I gave her 3 or 4 options. I was like, all right, we can go to the gym. I can take you to the library. I'm sorry. I said, we go to a museum, the library, a park, or the gym. She was like, the gym. So yeah,
That's
they
awesome.
love and it's important for me on a regular basis to see them observe the habits that I do on a regular basis. And that comes to how I eat and how I take care of my body, how I treat other people. So I love for them to observe it as much as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think
I am
that's how
a true
kids
believer
learn, right?
that we pave the way for them with our actions more so than our words. So it's fun, just the garage gym in here. Livy will walk in and she now has breakfast with me in here on the days that I don't have to take her to school because I work out. So we have a little table in there and she'll pull up a chair. She'll have her breakfast. She'll watch me work out. She'll go lift some kettlebells every now and again. She'll go hang from bars and she likes to spend some time in there. So I'm like, this is good because I want her. And I was asking her yesterday, I was like, do you like art or gymnastics? So art or being in the gym? And every answer was always something more physical in nature. So I was like, okay, good. We're building good habits from a fitness
Yeah,
perspective and
absolutely.
an activity perspective. So it's really cool to see. But I do want to switch gears here a little bit because I know you did the TED Talk and you had an interesting clip that talked about with fitness, you're choosing between comfort and responsibility, and people do enough to kind of be honest, and it's almost a little bit dangerous because it kind of leads you to feeling like you're doing some stuff, but maybe not enough to make some change. So talk a little bit more about that and give us some perspective on it.
So yeah, the TED Talk I did was called Almost as a Decision, and kind of going through what ownership is. And I talk about in there that I don't think it's motivation or discipline, that it comes down to ownership. And I think most people, and this has happened through years of coaching humans, I'm sure you see it on a regular basis, that a lot of people will give you the line of I know I should be, but, and I know I should be eating a little bit better. I know my nutrition needs some attention. I know I should be working out. I know I should be walking. And I truly don't think that in today's age with information, everyone has access to it. I can go to ChatGPT and type up a pretty okay workout right now. It can give me some pretty good advice on macros. It can give me some pretty good advice on how many steps I need to take. But why aren't we doing it? So how can I know everything but not want to do those things? And so that's where I think I kind of talk about digging into the ownership. And a lot of people, I'm empathetic to people's background, whether that be socioeconomic situation, whether it be where they were born at. I think there's different challenges that we each face. But having said that, I think we always have a decision, and that I think we need to take ownership of our circumstances sometimes. And once you're aware of the situation, then it really is up to you to prioritize those things in your life. It depends on how bad you want those things. I think what we try to do is bridge that gap between intentions and desire into turning them into actions, and kind of talking about putting that onus back on you and what is your role in bridging that gap. And it's always going to come down to you owning whatever I need to do to put in place, whether that be a group model, personal training, carving out time for yourself, working on your time management. And that's where we'll kind of dig in when we talk to our clients as well, is what is it that's holding you back right now? Is it your lack of ability to schedule well? Is it just not that important to you? Is it because you have something that you prioritize over this? It doesn't mean life isn't hard, especially as a dad and juggling professional work. It's very hard. And I think, again, that's one of the things that is inspiring about being in a group model is that you see these other moms and dads and professionals who are doing the exact same things. And you're like, man, how do they juggle all this? And potentially being around them, you start to learn how they prioritize it and you start picking up on their habits and skills.
How much of that messaging, right? Like, because I love that, and I think about what you mentioned with ChatGPT and how we have all this access to our fingertips. How much though do you feel like the idea of a hour workout gets in the way of people being able to access these things, or hearing that they have to take 10,000 steps, or they have to eat their body weight in protein? Like, all these goals just seem so high for a lot of the people who are starting off. How much of that do you think is a barrier? Because I tell people a 10-minute workout counts, right? Like, your 5,000
100%.
steps counts, right? So how much of that do you feel has been a barrier for clients? Just these like social media type goals.
Yeah, I would want to just encourage you to not spend much time on social media would be step one. But two is like we always are trying to meet people where they are. And so at the end of the day, even if I have a new client coming in and we're doing an intake form and we ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to get this done? To me, it's a red flag if you're putting a 10. Like, it's a little too intense. It's like, I need to scale this back and we need to make sure that it's realistic. I mean, in my experience, I've had people who come in and they want to do personal training 5 days a week and start with a nutrition that haven't worked out in 10 years.
Right.
Or they want to get into group classes and they want to come every single day. And so my goal was like, hey, I need something that you can sustain. So let's start with 2 days a week. Let's let your body adapt. Let's come up with these little micro goals to help you get to there. No different than when we even work with nutrition clients. I'm not a huge believer in macros, or I guess I shouldn't say it. I believe them. I think they work. I don't like doing them for the psychology behind it, but I want to start with just getting people to understand protein. Let's not overwhelm them with 100 goals and understanding fiber, carbs, fat quality. Let's just get them to understand hitting their protein every day. And then let's move to the next one. And then let's move to the next one. So I think that's how we kind of attack our goals here is goal one, let's get into the gym 2 or 3 days this week. Let's see if we can hit 3,000 steps a day. And then incrementally, let's start making some of those changes. And there's all sorts of strategies that I share with people, even with my coaches, when it comes to how you prioritize time and how you manage things. And one of them, I can't remember who to give credit to with this, but I don't want to spend too much time thinking about it, but it's like 10 to 15 minutes of commitment per day. And just see what that turns into. And honestly, when you talk about reading, I love reading. And my habit started probably 15 years ago where my goal is I only try to read 15 minutes per day. That's it. 15 minutes a day, several times a week. That turns into an hour, hour and a half. And there's sometimes a week that I'm so tired, but I'm like, I can turn all my electronics off. I can put a timer on. I can read for 15 minutes. And so I started with this small goal. And now I read several books a year, but just for doing 15 minutes a day. And it's no different than setting up, prioritizing a time to walk and coming up with ways to do that. But you're right. You don't want to overwhelm somebody with these super goals. It gets overwhelming. I mean, I made a reel one time kind of joking around about if you took the advice of everybody, like how long I should be brushing my teeth, how long I should be sleeping, exercising. Okay, so we only need about 42 hours a day to get everything done that people are telling us to do. So it's like, it's impossible to take everybody's advice.
Yeah. And so what strategies do you use with your clients if they're trying to make like any change, whether it be nutrition, whether it's for being more consistent? Like, how do those conversations go, and how do you steer them in the direction to actually like make a habit change?
So one thing I commonly talk about is even though we're a big metric, we like using metrics to show growth. It's not what I care about the most. So even with a personal training client and we hop on an in-body scale and I'll get them weighed in, they were like, can I come back and weigh in 2 weeks? And I'm like, no, we don't need to weigh in every 2 weeks. I was like, really, every 60 to 90 days, let's check this because I don't want this dictating your happiness or how you're doing. At the end of the day, you and your onboarding documents told me you wanted to be a healthy person. We dug through the whys and you wanted to be identified as a healthy person. And so I'll go and say, a healthy person right now, you're working out 3 days a week. You've been hitting 5,000 steps. You are a healthy person. Now it's just being consistent. So we'll go look at that scale in 90 days, but you need to put your head down and keep doing these small steps of just showing up 3 to 4 times a week, walking 4 times a week. So I think making them the goals that are obtainable, but making the goals not outcome specific, but habit specific.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
like that. I
talked
think
about
that's like,
process too, right? Like having a process to your goals rather than just kind of thinking about the outcome. That always seems to be the path forward for consistency. So I'm glad that you reiterated that for us.
Yeah, and we talk about that no different than in our programming. It's like it's just the habit and the structure of coming to those classes, and then the outcome, the test will take care of itself. I mean, I think
Right.
Saban has something about that's how you practice.
Right.
So
Right. And even when I'm talking to new patients, and a lot of things with weight has been coming up with pain and, you know, arthritis and back pain and connected to obesity, high blood pressure, this, that, the other thing. And when I've asked people, well, why do they want to work out, get stronger? A lot of them are like, well, can I say that I just want to look better and I want to lose 5 pounds or 10 pounds? I'm like, yeah, because guess what? The process is going to be the same. You still have to work out, start twice a week, start with 5,000 steps a day, start with just looking at your plate. Is there enough protein there? If not, find a bar. There's millions of bars. Find a little scoop of something that you like. And then we just start that process right there. But that process is going to probably look very similar to get people going. And then, as you were saying, we can kind of point things out and different things that matter to people. If they're an athlete, do they need one-on-one training? Do they really want to do that barbell snatch? Well, hey, let's get them over here. But if they're happy, they're content, we can add a little bit at a time. So I like that message that you guys are doing over there, Matt.
yeah, absolutely.
awesome, man. Well, why don't you take some time here to tell our listeners where they can find you, how they can work their way into your gym. Floor's yours.
Yeah. So again, we have one location in North Raleigh on Six Forks and Strickland. We have one in Waverly Place off of Kildare and Cary. We're regularly doing community events. So you can find us on Instagram at Oak and Iron Fitness. My name is Matt Gulliver. That's my Instagram handle as well, at _ Matt Gulliver. But yeah, we'd love the opportunity to connect. And at the end of the day, I just love all forms of movement and support all gyms. If we're not the right fit for you, I'd be happy to steer you in the direction of what you're looking for. So at the end of the day, we support everybody in just getting a good exercise routine and getting them to a stronger and healthier path.
There you go, man. We love it. So if you're UNC, Duke, NC State, you have a home at Oak and Iron. And we hope that lots of people find you, man. You're doing great work. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. We really, really appreciate it. Joe, thank you. Listeners, thank you. And please don't forget to come back next week for another exciting episode of the Beyond Pain podcast.
Thank you guys for having me on.